Happy Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in and for choosing to spend some of your time with me. It's your girl, Milagros here. And during the month of June, if you've been following or even if you haven't, during the month of June, the theme of June is just decide. Just decide who you want to be, what kind of life you want to live. Just decide. And every time you feel like you're being pulled in the opposite direction, just remind yourself that you made that decision and trust. Stay open to resources, people, opportunities, and things that are going to help you move in the direction of your decision. Now, that being said, the past couple of weeks we talked about different specific parts of just deciding. And I have to tell you, this is real talk. Today I had a meltdown, like a full-on crying in public, feeling overwhelmed meltdown. And then I called one of my girlfriends and we started talking and she started reminding me of who I am and what I'm capable of and the life that I deserve to live. And then as I got off the phone with her and I got back with my daughter and we finished doing what we were doing, and then I pulled a note out of my wallet, and it's a little postcard that I carry around, and it said, I have decided that I'm going to live a life of freedom. I have decided that everything is always working out in my favor for the good of all involved. I have decided that I deserve happiness and joy. I have decided, ! And I'm like, I already decided. But the reality is that sometimes we get a little caught up in the realities of our day-to-day living. We look at the pile of bills and we freak out a little bit, or we look at, a certain situation or a certain circumstance and we allow that condition or circumstance to change the way we feel and to allow us to become overwhelmed. Fortunately, I have practiced not living in the overwhelmment long enough that when I get into that space, I don't like it. I declare out loud, I feel overwhelmed and I don't like it at all. And then I have to stop what I'm doing and either meditate or I exercise or I vent or I call a friend and I'm like, help me, because I'm going to lose it, right? So we have to decide, and then we have to have some kind of like contingency plan. What is your plan going to be when you start to feel overwhelmed? Again, for me, the three things that work the best is meditation, exercising, and calling one of my friends, or actually this one specific friend, because we think a lot alike, and she's really good at, let's go, let's get back to it. And it's like, right, thank you. Phew, I needed that. And let me tell you, I needed that today. But today, I wanted to specifically focus on the one statement on my postcard that I keep in my wallet that said, everything is always working out in my favor for the good of all involved. And the more that I rehearsed that over and over and over, I went, no, that's true. Everything is always working out in my favor for the good of all involved. All the time. All the time, because I have decided it to be so. Because I trust in that statement. Because I know who I am and what I'm capable of. Because I know and I trust the process, right? It's something as simple as like where I currently live. If I think about where we started off, the first place that I can ever remember when we were younger and we were in the Bronx with the roaches and the falling apart apartment and so on and so forth. And then that apartment caught on fire. And you would think that that would be bad. But what actually happened was they had to rebuild these other apartments. And then they moved us into those apartments. And one of them was a little bit bigger. And it was brand new. It kept getting better. And even the fire worked out in our favor. Wait a second. And then when we moved to Massachusetts, for the first time ever, we lived in a house. And it was a 4-bedroom house. And yes, there were a lot of us, so we still had to share rooms, but it had 2 floors. We lived in a house. The grass at the front of the house was about this big, but it was better than where we came from. And then when I think about my first apartment on my own, my first apartment was huge. It was this huge apartment. I had this great big bedroom with this wonderful porch in this good neighborhood. That was a good apartment. And then I think about where I moved from there. That apartment was better than the last one. And then I think about, and I just kept doing that. And I went, oh my gosh, everything is always working out in my favor for the good of all involved. And it keeps getting better. And if that's true about my housing situation, wait a second. I'm going to decide that's going to be true about every situation in my life. I'm going to decide and I'm going to move from a place of peace and I'm going to operate knowing that that's the case for me, deciding it to be true. And when I step out of that alignment and I step out of that space where I'm feeling really good and really peaceful and really positive, I'm going to have a contingency plan. What's my contingency plan? I'm going to meditate. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to call up a friend who's going to get me back into alignment, who's going to say, earlier this morning, before I had my meltdown, I wrote something down. And when I wrote it down, I didn't really believe it, but I wrote it down. And then when I talked to her, she said the exact thing that I wrote down. And when she's saying it, I saw myself writing it from earlier that morning, and I went, right. No, yes, everything is always working out in our favor for the good of all involved. And we have to decide it, declare it, believe it, and become it. So when situations happen that seem like they're a little bit of a pain in the butt, that's okay. That's going to work out in my favor. Because the truth is, it's probably a slight inconvenience, not a catastrophe, right? And if you watch the previous video, I say these 3 questions when something happens. Is the world coming to an end? Is the planet going to explode or implode? And am I going to die? No? Then we're going to be cool. It's all going to work out. It's all going to be good, right? So that's what I want to focus on for the next 7 days or till the end of the month or what have you, is using that and writing that down and making that a statement for yourself. Everything is always working out in my favor for the good of all involved. Like, I don't know about you, but when I say it, it just makes me feel better. So that's what I have. That's it. I have a real moment where I had a meltdown earlier and I let myself get to a place of overwhelmment. I picked up my contingency plan real quick because I decided I'm not staying in that space. I've done that. Been there, did that, got the t-shirt, gave it back. Okay? So we have to have a contingency plan. How are we going to move on? And then what is going to be our grounding statements to remind us who we are and what is happening in this amazing, wonderful life? Because it's time you start believing in yourself. It's time we start believing that life is a gift and we're meant to enjoy it. It's time that we start having fun and finding reasons to be happy. It's time that we start practicing gratitude on a more consistent basis. It's time that we stop looking for other people's approval and start approving of ourselves. It's time for full acceptance. It's time for self-love and self-care. It's time. It is time. It is time. It is time. And so I hope you take the time to decide and to make those decisions and then to allow your life to move in that space. Because you deserve it. I deserve it. We all do. That's what is the super sparkly everything kind of life. So that's all I have for you. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week. I hope that you have a fantastic, super sparkly weekend. I love you so much, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm sending out all kinds of good vibrations right now because I'm in so much of a better space than I was earlier. And I'm thankful for all my people in my life who support me. I'm thankful to my girl who took care of me earlier when I called her and I had a meltdown in the grass. And that's a true story. And I'm thankful for tears. I'm thankful for the contrast. I'm thankful for the catharsis of being able to cry it out. I'm thankful for my daughter who just you worked that out, Mom, right? I'm just so thankful for my life and for everything in it and for everyone in it. And I hope that you can find moments in your life to be thankful. I hope that you can start saying that statement, just decide that everything is always going to work out in your favor for all involved, and then start acting like it, because then it does. And when you have moments that you feel overwhelmed, what's your contingency plan? Work that out. You got to figure out how you're going to get yourself back so that you don't ride crazy train. I rode the crazy train. I rode it, and then I had to tuck and roll and jump off the train. Okay, that's it. That's all I got for you, though. I love you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your week and a fantastic, super sparkly weekend. Peace!